This series is about outstanding architecture from around America. From stunning residential to public spaces to commercial, this is an architectural deep dive to uncover the incredible stories behind each design. Welcome to America by Design. Our ByDesign industry experts have selected innovative, inspiring, and award-winning projects.
What I don't think most people realize is that great design and great architecture is happening all around you. And what I really love about the ByDesign platform is the realization that the school you walked into, the fire station housing first responders, the office building that you work at, architects have had a hand in these spaces.
Let's get started with our first project.
10 miles west of downtown Chicago, Oak Park is a streetcar suburb established in the late 19th century. It also has the largest concentration anywhere in the country of Frank Lloyd Wright designed homes. But in the early 20th century, Frank Lloyd Wright and his contemporaries did not have to think about energy use in these homes. Today, we know it's a very important focus, including at a 1902 home that has recently achieved net zero status.
There's a lot of great architecture here. These were homes that were built as beautiful as they could do it back then, and there's a lot of investment that has been made here in terms of the architectural care and thought, and it's definitely a point of pride for Oak Park.
So how are you thinking about how to update an existing home?
Basically what we would do if we're doing a new build, but the thing is fitting those into an old house takes a lot of care in both the design and in the construction. I mean, it's really a craftsmanship exercise. In this case, we got the insulation and the mechanical system so efficient that we could offset the amount of energy and then get to net zero.
Net zero meaning the house is making more energy than it's consuming.
Yeah.
Wow, Tom, this is not at all what I would have imagined for the interior of a 1902 home. It's so open, this entry.
Yeah, it's interesting because the old house, the functions are kind of where they were before. Kitchen, dining, living space, stair. But we've really re-articulated how they relate to each other. These houses had a great way of addressing the street and kind of creating a nice picturesque front. But when it comes to the actual flow of living space, that wasn't what it was about. It was about separate rooms, separate activities. So now the flow is very much more fluid.
And the kitchen is really the center of this first floor.
The kitchen-dining relationship is so crucial. I feel like I haven't met a client yet who says, yeah, I want that to be totally separate. There was a big wall here, separated it. So yeah, we opened that up and it made the light so much better. But then the other way we could open it up was here. The back of the house had just a wall. I mean, there was virtually no connection visually to the backyard. So we got to situate this mudroom here as our way to come in and out, and then lots of glass to give us a good connection to the back where we really have that nice indoor-outdoor flow.
It's an elegant solution.
It's what residential architecture is all about, thinking about how people live and how plans can evolve with that. That's really the beauty and the challenge of residential design. Anything that you do in a historic district that's visible from the street, whether it's garage or house, is going to have to meet the guidelines of the Preservation Commission. Mm-hmm. Really, it's what provides the continuity and the cohesiveness of the historic district.
And you weren't thinking about it just in terms of a new garage, you're also thinking about it in terms of the solar. If I compare this building to the home across the street, that really complex roof line makes it challenging to figure out where those solar panels are going to go.
When we designed the garage initially, we designed a south-facing single pitch roof. It was a very contemporary looking building. Preservation Commission didn't like it, so we pivoted to the gable here that looks more traditional. So basically the solar just went where no historic building was, just on the new work, and we got still to our net zero goal with that.
Lots of things changed in the home on the first floor, but the stairs in the exact same place, right?
Yeah, pretty much. And one of the great things about this house was that the staircase volume was larger than it absolutely needed to be, so it gave us this good opportunity to bring light in. But the stairway from the second floor to the attic was quite cramped. So we widened that out. And at the top, we have some Alpine windows, which form a nice clear story that bring light into this part of the house. This is kind of the adults floor. So we've got the primary suite, the home gym, their home offices, and the laundry space. The attic, which had been bedrooms, sort of uncomfortable bedrooms and a small bath, we renovated. So that's the kids zone with a nice little bath and a fun little crawl space tunnel between their bedrooms. And part of the idea with the staircase really working for us was to create these diagonal views between the floors so that they didn't feel like they were really in a very separate zone. You know, it's all unified with this big light-filled space.
And more light means less reliance on artificial light, lower energy bills, all that's a good thing, right? And we can see that the greenest home is the one that already exists.
Yeah, if you really renovate it right. Passive design is the backbone of designing for conservation. So the shape of a building, the orientation, the number of windows, the type of systems in the building really contribute to its base load. How much does it take just to keep that thing going? Phius is an organization that does training of professionals like me, and it also does the certification of buildings. They give us these nice clear metrics that we can use when we're doing energy modeling alongside our design. Net zero is when we offset that energy use with solar energy or other renewable energy on site.
Well, the building modeling that you're doing is very sophisticated, and the materials science is also very complex. But the materials we're talking about are just readily available.
Yeah, there's nothing magic here. You can find these things all over the country. What we chose for this project is the Climate Master Trilogy heat pump, which delivers heating, cooling, and hot water. Our air barrier strategy involved Aero Barrier by AeroSeal, and we worked with Owens Corning and specified their natural polymers natural therm with a super energy recovery ventilator, which is called the Serve 2 by Build Equinox.
Tom, it's been really fascinating today to see the science behind the building and to see also how this 1902 house has had a second life.
Thanks. It's so rewarding to do this work. Knowing that we can make this work in a way that they're more comfortable, more resilient, that the owners will love them because of the way the design works for them is extremely rewarding.
Trinity Church Wall Street is one of the most important, memorable buildings in New York City. It's really famous, lots of tourists visit it, but it's an old building. And so I love this project because it's a reminder that contemporary architects do important work in historic structures to make them more sustainable, make them more accessible, and this really sets a standard for that.
Trinity Church in New York City is of enormous historical significance. But I'm sure, as Alexander Hamilton, Robert Fulton, and John Watts would agree, the only constant in this city is change. And for this national treasure, it was time for a refresh. Now, Jeff, this task was placed on your shoulders.
Yes.
Where do you begin?
Well, we started this project about 6 years ago where we revised the master plan we had done earlier. And then we jumped right into a design process and identified three main goals for this project. One was to enhance the worship experience inside the building. And the second really was in making this a comfortable place for the people who both work here and worship here. And then the third was sustainability, trying to make this building as sustainable as we could.
Sustainability, you're kidding. In an 1840s building.
Absolutely.
I can't wait to see how you pulled that off. Now, Jeff, with a project like this, I know you didn't do all this yourself.
No, we did not. We had this extraordinary design team. Our job was really to harness all of that brain power and get everyone talking to one another and collaborating.
And one of them was an archaeologist.
Absolutely, yeah. If you look around you, you see a lot of graves. We did a lot of disruption to this yard, putting in new walks and ramps and infrastructure. And so a big part of this was being very sensitive to what was here and using that archaeologist to help us do that. One of the important design considerations was really treating this building as an artifact. They needed to have an awning to facilitate the procession, but yet they wanted it to sort of disappear.
Yeah.
And so if you actually stand from Broadway and look at this, you see these stanchions, which are sort of a riff on Gothic architecture, sort of melding into the color of the brownstone. And then there's the transparency of the glass. And, you know, from a distance, this actually goes away.
Oh, Jeff. Oh my, what a space.
Yeah, it's pretty extraordinary, isn't it? You know, when we first came here, this space was actually quite dark. The clerestory windows were yellow glass put in the 60s. The lighting was all down lighting, so you couldn't see the architecture of the ceiling. You know, this place looks very different than it did 6 years ago.
Now, I bet, Jeff, there's a story about the stained glass windows.
We worked with Feminella to restore and actually build new stained glass windows in some cases. We put protective glazing on the building, and we realized that it had multiple impacts. It not only protected the stained glass, it also had acoustical properties that really helped the acoustics in this space. And then of course it helped us tighten up the building and make it more sustainable.
So the thermal properties,
Yeah.
that's going back to your sustainability story.
Yes, we also added a thick layer of insulation in the attic. We tightened up all of the seals on the doors, and then we reworked the HVAC system. So, you know, those extra measures really made this a much more sustainable building.
I find it interesting, Jeff, that there's all these craftspeople, all these tradespeople that still do this kind of work in the 2020s.
Yeah, it's kind of incredible that they do still exist, but it was Siami's responsibility to go out and find those people. So for instance, we had Rugo do all the mosaics and the stonework up on the chancel. We worked with Zepsa to build new pews and also restore all the wood here and in the sacristy. We worked with Glottergotts, who installed 2 new organs here. This is a German company that designs organs. So
Who would have thought they're still building organs like this?
yeah, it's incredible.
Now, Mary, you're another architect who worked with Jeff, and you worked a lot with this stone.
This is a brownstone building. This is a typical stone of the era. And believe it or not, these columns and the tracery around the windows are really the only thing in this church that are actually stone. Everything above the spring point of the column is actually plaster.
You're kidding.
All of the
All of that is not stone.
It's all plaster, and it's made very intentionally to look like stone. This was a technique where you put a thick layer of plaster on the wall, and then you score the joints 3-dimensionally into the wall, so they really, really look like stone.
Oh, it's good to know they were faking it back in the 1840s as well.
They were faking it.
Reverend Jackson,
Morning, Mike. Good to meet you.
tell me about this restoration. What did you want to achieve?
Well, first of all, let me just say that it wasn't a restoration as such. And the reason for that is because when you're talking about restorative work, you're taking it back to where it was. We began calling it a rejuvenation because we were also rethinking what is the role of Trinity Church today? Come on, let me take you up on the altar and I'll show you some things up there.
Okay, can he come too?
Yes, come on. Let's go around this way. So I want you to feel the heft of this block of marble.
Oh yeah,
This-
that's the real thing.
This is the real thing. This is the altar. And if you can imagine that before this project, this high altar was attached to that piece of stone, which is called a reredos.
Okay, these tiles were covered
These
over.
tiles were covered over. These tiles on the right and these tiles on the left are all original 1876. These were all recreated to match these. And the reason why we went through the trouble of taking this off is up until the 1970s, the priests used to celebrate the Mass with his back to the congregation. We realized that we wanted to face the congregation, so we asked the architects if we could take it off and bring it down here, and now we would be able to use this beautiful high altar for the first time again since the 1970s. The other thing I'd love to tell you is the only time in this project when I cried. When I cried. The altar had been taken off and had been dismantled and lay in pieces on the ground. And I thought, oh my goodness, what have I done? and so I called up Jeff Murphy, the architect, and I said, Jeff, I've made a big mistake. The altar's in pieces. They're never going to be able to get it back together again. He said, don't worry, it's fine. Each piece is numbered. We know exactly where everything goes. He said, it will all come back together perfectly. You'll see. And I said, I hope so. I hope so.
Are you okay now?
I'm fine, look.
You got what you wanted.
Yeah, it worked beautifully. It worked beautifully.
There's so much more to this rejuvenation and restoration. The sacristy and clergy spaces. There's even a full-blown television studio that's been added. This has been a project of gravitas that's demanded the steadiest of hands from its design team and trades.
The Joe DiMaggio Children's Hospital creates a space of healing. HKS Architects has created a space that, in a family's most devastating time, having a sick child, creates a safe space. It's a testament to what architects do. They create spaces that heal and positively affect human well-being.
We're here in sunny Hollywood, Florida at Joe DiMaggio Children's Hospital, where architecture is more than just building space. It's about creating hope, healing, and joy for kids and their families. Adding 4 floors to a working hospital sounds intense. How are you able to pull that off while still maintaining one functioning building?
The project brief was really to double it in size, which was no easy feat, especially because the hospital had to stay open the entire time and not be disrupted to families, staff, or patients. Because Joe DiMaggio is the namesake of the hospital and baseball is really an important thing, thinking about the actual baseball itself, it's one of the few things that's still hand woven. And so this idea of stitch, weave, mend, really became like the mantra for our design team, because we're really stitching together 2 sides of a building. We're weaving all this wonderful space together to create a clinical support, and we're creating an environment for mending. Cesar was a great partner with us. They helped us reclad the stairwell. So we have beautiful 4-foot by 4-foot metal panels, and the corners are triangulated. And that is really an abstract reference to the baseball diamond. And so keeping that kind of playful geometric pattern that children can feel comfortable with, and little pops of color play.
It's the competition. 3, 2, 1, go. Arthur, you are the principal medical planner for this project. In the design of this space, you're accommodating children that might be here for some months, maybe let alone a year. How do you make this space feel less like a hospital and more like a home?
The one thing we did is meet with families in groups and individually to understand their anxieties, their priorities. We want to be welcoming, but also show that there's a lot of technicality behind it to support their care.
Well, I can't help but notice this giant machine behind us, and I see limited door space. How did you get this giant machine in here?
This is a 15,000-pound MRI machine. When we expanded this space to fit this equipment, we left a knockout panel on that wall that you can pull it out without having to demolish it. So when the day came, construction services, the contractor and us coordinated the traffic, the hospital operations to bring it up, crane it in, and fit it on the rails, and close the panel seamlessly. Now in the future, the hospital might decide to replace this for a new technology. Again, the panel can be pulled out, the equipment removed, and a new technology can come in. Who knows what's coming in the future? This is a very special floor. This is uniquely integrating cardiovascular intensive care unit with cardiovascular operating rooms, which really drives teamwork, very important. And as you see, as you walk here, we created neighborhoods where the staff is the closest to the patient for that high complex response. As you go through the hallways, you get to a more social space for siblings, for patients that can ambulate, and families, just to step out of this intense care space. It is very unique the way it blends the technical components with that whimsical and very home-like and welcoming environment.
Children are not supposed to be in the hospital at all. So our goal in designing this facility was to make sure it didn't feel like a hospital. Philosophically, we believe in the healing power of play. We chose to actually carve out quite a bit of real estate for a zone for just play. But then we also have a terrace so they can go outside and get fresh air and play and do their rehab therapies outside. We have a respite space for parents. We even have a playroom for staff for relaxing. All throughout the hospital, the space is light and bright and cheerful and spacious, using color and texture and light, all those things that make the environment healing, and also be a playful, joyful, as fun as it can be place to be, so kids can get back to being kids.
This is a space that's supposed to make you forget that you're in the hospital. It's a space that we used fun geometry and colors to really distract you in a positive way from the fact that you were sick. And so we used a number of different design tools to help bring in playful colors, playful geometries, like these peekaboo windows that we worked with Freeform on, allow a level of transparency and allow a playfulness. We worked with Nora by Interface on the flooring to be able to create several different themes. We also worked with InPro to make creative graphics that are on durable materials, so you can't bump into it with a wheelchair and mar the material. It's actually quite durable. But we could create these lively scenes and they look like beautiful art, and it makes you forget that you're in a hospital altogether.
I've been here for 22 days, and on Tuesday, she will have her second open heart surgery. They have this playroom. They also have a lot of activities going on with the kids, and she got to see the Miami Sharks, and she was playing with them, and she was laughing, smiling. She was a really, really happy little girl, and it didn't feel like we were here at the hospital. I know there's a lot of parents that are going through a lot when they're here, but there's a lot of people here that are willing to help. I feel really blessed to be here and really grateful to have a hospital like this.
At Joe DiMaggio Children's Hospital, design goes beyond walls. It brings comfort, connection, and even some fun to every corner.
What I love about 1515 is how comfortable it feels. It's a very welcoming environment. It uses light beautifully and has a lot of craftsmanship and detail in the use of tile. In fact, I'm such a fan. I was delighted to learn it was available when we were looking for a new lease for the Texas Society of Architects, and we will soon be moving in.
"1515 Cesar Chavez, a space in the heart of Austin's eclectic East Side. This building was designed with intentionality, where architecture meets community, and where every corner was built for collaboration." So here we are, right on the outskirts of downtown Austin, and you have this great space where you could have built a big steel box. You decided to do something different.
It's a 3-story office building, and you can see we're on a pretty busy street, but it backs up to an established East Austin neighborhood. We wanted to respond to that in terms of scale, massing, proportion. One of the biggest moves that we've done on the project in order to accomplish that is creating kind of an outdoor courtyard.
Wow, is this the lobby?
Well, in a way it is. It's one of the big design moves that helps break up the massing of the building. It's also where everything kind of happens. So yeah, it's the lobby, it's an outdoor courtyard. We've got the stairs that help activate the space. We've got the elevator as well, so all forms of circulation. We've got a lot of built-in seating to get people out. They can take calls here, they can have their lunch, they can do an informal meeting. We've treated each level a little bit differently in order to break down the scale of the building as well. The ground level uses masonry. We have a brick facade mixed with wooden storefront. The wooden storefront really helps to warm up the space. It's more inviting as you walk in, and it's also something a little bit atypical for kind of a retail/office level. The second level is treated a little bit differently. We've got some wood accents. We used US Lumber Brokers Prime Line Select Hemlock as a wood siding product. And we've got that in a couple of key areas, which is kind of protected from the elements, And then the third level, we're bringing the brick back in with a different storefront. We're also breaking up that third level with more outdoor spaces as well. And then you can see the overall building, the corners are really kind of eroded, breaking down the massing as well.
This central staircase is a crucial part of the design concept. It winds up from the underground parking garage up through the whole building. It winds intentionally because we're trying to encourage people to interact when they move around the space from floor to floor. And it's such a showcase piece that's one of the other custom moments that we have in the building. So this handrail is a really well thought out integral part of the staircase. It incorporates tape lighting. You can see it here. We worked with our lighting supplier, Legacy Lighting, to make sure that this was all integrated perfectly. And it runs the full length of the stair from up here on the 3rd floor all the way down to the parking lot.
And so in COVID, you were designing this space. Tell me how that impacted you.
Right, a lot of office spaces that were in design during COVID didn't get to go through construction afterwards, right? And of course, office spaces and how people thought of office spaces has changed so much in the last 4 or 5 years. But this space had a lot going for it because we were already focused on the outdoors. There's so much celebration of outdoor space. The circulation happens outside on the stairwells. There's no central lobby that everybody shares. This became a very COVID-friendly building, almost accidentally.
And these patios are really a great space to connect.
The building itself is set up for people to be able to get outside. There are outside spaces that could double as small conference rooms, breakout spaces, really anything. And they're kind of littered throughout the building. Some of them are a little more private, and a lot of them, like you see out here, are really public.
So we're gonna have a meeting in the potty. Oh, wow, it's pretty. I mean, there are llamas on the wall.
Yeah, it's fun, right?
I understand that the bathroom is a big selling piece.
Yeah, the building ownership who we worked with on the design of these bathrooms, they focus a lot of attention on how to make these touch point spaces that people interact with every day, how to really celebrate them. And so we were able to have a lot of fun, as you can see, with these finishes. Each bathroom has a different wallpaper. All of them are bright and colorful and celebratory. And then over here we have some tile that we mixed a little bit of glossy and matte to create a little bit of texture. This is sourced from Design and Direct Source. And then we had a custom fabricator here in town that fabricated all of these partitions for us and also extended them over to the mirror wall.
Here we are on another one of these beautiful patios. This must be a key feature for business owners to encourage people to come back to the office.
Yeah, definitely. It's one of these moments in the building that is really special for the tenant. Not only does it have a great view of downtown, but it's a great place to hold, breakout meetings for people to just take a break or take a call.
I really want to know, Christy, what do you love the most about this design?
I think that this is an office building that can only really happen in Austin. It's a celebration of outdoors. It's a celebration of the neighborhood and of community. We designed this building for other office tenants, but ultimately we decided that we're going to move our office in here. So we're under construction right now for our own office space down on the ground floor.
Join the community with this lovely design, these great outdoor spaces, this view. Sounds like a great decision.
We think so.
Congratulations to you both.
We hope you've enjoyed our look at some of the finest architectural designs from around America. Join us next time for more groundbreaking architecture on America by Design. For more information on any of the projects featured in this series, go to bydesign.global.